Hey, Jake Fouts here.
And Brian Fouts.
And today we're going to be bringing back Kevin Day for the final video in the Foundation series, and it's going to be on business buy and sell agreements. And the reason that's important is because a lot of times when businesses are started, sometimes you start by yourself, but a lot of times as they grow and they get bigger, it's usually 2 people, 3 people, or you're going to have a partnership in there. And you want to have agreements when you set that up for if something happens down the road, if the partnership gets dissolved, something happens to the business, there's maybe one of the partners dies, something that you don't expect happens. You want to make sure you have appropriate agreements in place so that the business can continue or it can be sold when that point in time comes.
Exactly. So again, on the same premise that if you have a partner other than a spouse, any partner, you have to pay attention. This is a really short module. And those of you, because it's so short, those of you that don't have partners, spend the 10 minutes to listen to this. So if you ever get a partner, you say, oh, I've got that in my data bank. Everybody thinks of a buy-sell as a first right of refusal. So if the 3 of us are in any kind of business partnership corporation or LLC, we think of, Kevin's the old guy, he wants to retire, and there's still a lot of heavy lifting to do. We don't have a bunch of managers that we can just collect checks. And so if I'm out, you guys are saying, okay, you can get your fair market, share of this, but we're not going to continue to sell dividends. Or if I want to sell it to someone else, you want to interview them. What skill set are they bringing? Do you want them at all? Are they nasty people that you don't want in your universe? So the first right of refusal is kind of the base threshold, but there's so many other reasons why if you have partners or co-owners that you need a buy-sell. And you want to put it together at the beginning when everything is happy. Most businesses actually dissolve on good terms, but you want to put things in place in case they don't. People grow in different ways. Some people say, well, I thought I was just going to, work for a couple of years and then I wasn't going to work anymore and somebody else is the workhorse. So you want mechanisms. So the first right of refusal, somebody's just ready to retire, move on. You need a mechanism. But the other things that many people don't think about are death that you mentioned, divorce, drug or alcohol problems, disability. There are about 25 to 28 triggers that we look at. And so, of course, I'll use me as an example. If I die, my wife might want to come in and say, okay, now I'm a third partner. Pay me what Kevin was making. And you say, you don't have the skill set that Kevin brought to the table. Likewise, if I die and my wife and I are in both the same car accident, my kids inherit and they don't have the skill set. Also in a divorce, let's say most states, even if they're not community property states, have co-owned interest in properties absent a marital agreement, which there's going to be another segment on. Let's say I get a divorce. You love my wife, she loves you, and she brings a skill set that's good for the business. The problem is most divorces, there's a few that aren't acrimonious, but most are not very healthy. The whole point of a buy-sell is to be fair to everyone, but protect the business and whoever's going to continue with it. And if my wife now, who hates me, is in the mix, the company just becomes less productive. There's bad energy in the business. And so that's another trigger. There are always options. It doesn't mean it has to happen. Maybe it is one of those mature, which you rarely see, divorces. And if my spouse brought skill set that was important to the business, maybe she does get half of my 33% and you're okay and don't exercise your option. But the option is there. If I have a drug, alcohol problem, death, certainly. Now, I want my family, in the event of death, I want my wife to get paid fairly. But I also want you, my business partners, to have a good, healthy company. So the point is prearranging how my wife will get compensated, and it might be funding the buy-sell with insurance. Life insurance is a very typical thing to fund. Disability insurance, so that that money is bought by the company under the buy-sell, so that you can pay her out immediately. Some people say we're only going to do part insurance. Some others say we're making plenty of cash, we'll be able to buy her out, or we'll do something partial, and that's what I'll lead. There's all kinds of options on determining the value of the company, fair market value at the time, book value, etc. There's about 5 different normal ways of doing it. Most people put fair market value at the time. Businesses are cyclical. At the moment of your death, we'll figure that out. And was it a up cycle or down cycle, so everybody's treated fairly. Then we're going to mortgage our house, or out of savings or whatever, we're going to give your family 50% and then pay the rest out over the next year or 2. And those are things that have to be negotiated. Another good one is bankruptcy. We're all fine. I overinvested in real property in 2005 and 2006. Now it's 2007. I'm a good business partner. You love my skills, but my estate went down through the tube. You do not want me going to the bankruptcy court and saying, Your Honor, I own this house, these rentals, and I'm a third business partner of this business, because your new partner is the bankruptcy trustee. And in the movies, you think bankruptcy trustees are nice, kind people. They're like judges and they're fair. No, they're collection attorneys. And they come in and they say, we want to see your books, we want to see what you're doing, we want to see what you're paying yourselves as salary. Is that reasonable? Oh, you were saving a pot of money to buy a new building? We're going to take all that to pay Kevin's creditors. The buy-sell would trigger if I have to file bankruptcy. So when I go to file bankruptcy, I don't own a third. I own a promissory note under our contract of what you're going to pay. That means the trustees can't come in and nose around. They have no ownership interest. They don't step into my shoes. And so they would stand out like I would and get whatever the payment agreement was. Your business is not going to be harshly affected. The other thing that's of consideration is if it doesn't matter who your partner is other than a spouse. Spouse under the law is usually one person, husband and wife. But even siblings, a dad and daughter are in business together. They need a buy-sell because dad has that business partner daughter, but also has another son and daughter. They have different interests, and the daughter that's the business partner has her own children or family. And so you really want it clear cut. You don't want families blown apart because they think, oh, it's worth more. And whoever's dead now can't say, no, we're having this and there's all these risks involved right now. That's a fair market value. So you want to pin it down in advance so everything runs smoothly. Bankruptcy, divorce, drug, gambling problems, disability. Again, these are options that different parties in the contract can take or not. So you don't have to. You might say, hey, we've gotten to the point and we do have managers. And you have a disability now, Kevin. But we have managers. We'll maybe adjust your salary a little bit, but we'll send you dividends. Or you might say, we need everybody on the task. We need to buy you out so we can bring in another partner with your skill set that we now don't have because of your disability. Again, insurance, and there's a couple of segments on insurance that will revisit this, but life insurance and disability insurance are funding buy-sells that make it easier on getting that payment to the family that's either removing themselves or have been removed by an event.
Okay. So have a buy-sell agreement if you have a partnership is imperative.
If you have co-owners.
Okay.
Yeah, partnership, corporation, LLC. If you have more than one owner, you want to buy-sell.
Okay. I think it's imperative for everybody to know that this is beneficial for everybody involved in the business and the longevity of the business. And one thing that I wanted to mention is that when you're starting off a business, a lot of times the emotions are high, everybody's excited, things are going real well, you're planning how you're going to spend all the money you're going to make and where it's going to go. And sometimes things like this, they may not get talked about, or you don't want to think about them until emotions might get high on the other end. So that's the advantage of a buy-sell agreement, is it sets those things in place just in case those things happen. So you don't have to worry about those emotional lows at the other end. So I think that's one of the huge benefits to making sure this gets put in place very early on.
Absolutely. I've seen some horror stories of, people often bring different skill sets. Sometimes people are just bringing money. I'm a third partner and I'm just putting money. You have all the contact lists and you have the sales ability. But over time, if you don't write these things down, it's going, wow, we need an extra person in the office. How come Kevin's never here? And so part of it is clarifying what you're bringing to the party, because down the line you say, well, I wish this was part of the agreement. I wish Kevin would come in more. I wish that he brought more customer list. You're saying, I wish he was a better salesman. And over time, this wish, I wish, all of a sudden it becomes they were supposed to. And especially if the business is struggling a little bit, the I wish I did becomes I did. That was part of the agreement. And so it's really good to come out with something. No, this was the agreement. This is what we were supposed to do. It outlines things. And some people, that doesn't happen to everybody. It's just good fences make good neighbors. And good co-owners should have an agreement so that, oh yeah, I see that now, and everybody backs off, and you can get back to building the health of the company.
Yeah, that's great. So any members that are looking at putting together an entity or have partnerships currently that don't have a buy-sell in place, probably recommend contacting Kevin. So once again, if you want to contact him, his contact information or the contact form should be below the video. And appreciate your time and appreciate the information. That was
Absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone. See you guys in the next video.